All right, you are watching Club Fantasy. I'm your host, David Lowry. Today, we are talking with Luke Warren of Northstar Games, and we're going to be talking about their new release, Evolution, currently on Kickstarter, and a few other things. Luke, thanks for joining us, especially this late at night.
All right, no problem, David. Glad to be on, man.
All right, so the hotness, everything everybody's talking about right now is Evolution. What is Evolution?
Evolution is our first strategy game. It's a card-driven strategy game where you're playing traits on your species and you're helping them evolve. So you can create new species, you can add body size and population, so you can have really big species, you can have small species, you're going to have various traits. Basically, you're trying to, A, get them to survive, and B, eat the most food. The more food you eat, the more points you're going to get. So, and players can turn their species into carnivores and attack other players. There can be a shortage of food. If you don't eat enough food, you start losing population, so on and so forth. So, yeah, it takes about an hour. It's a light strategy game. It's very thematic. It's very simple rules with a lot of deep gameplay.
That's a stretch for you guys. Don't usually do strategy games. I got the game yesterday and got to dig through it a little bit today and play a few rounds. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, we in typical Northstar Games fashion, we tried to create a game, even with our party games, very few rules, but a lot of gameplay. Like Wits and Wagers and Say Anything. They're very simple games, but they have a ton of replayability, and those games are based more on social interaction, not on rules mechanics. And we try to do the same thing here. There's a lot of interaction in this game. There's a lot of things you can do. You put a card in every round to determine the food, right? So all the players are going to put a card in. If you see a lot of species out there with a lot of high population, you can put in a low food card, sometimes even a negative food card. That's going to decrease the amount of food in the middle. They're not going to be able to eat as much. They're going to lose population. They're going to starve, right?
Right.
So there's a lot of interaction there. You can become a carnivore and attack the other players' creatures, again, causing them to lose population. So there's a lot of social dynamic in the game as well. But the rules are really simple. Everything, the cards make a lot of sense. It's very well themed. So the traits you're putting on your animals, you know what they are. It makes a lot of. It's very intuitive.
Yeah, it is. When I was looking at the cards today and seeing how everything tied in together, the simplicity of it is a big plus, obviously, especially when you're trying to put a strategy game out. You don't want to have a rule book necessarily that you have to read for a week before you can actually get it to the table.
Right.
So that was real nice. I thought I was gonna have to have a couple days to really get this thing under my fingers, but it's really a simple game, and immediately I could see the impact that it would have around the table, and it was not a North Star feel in the sense of wow, usually I pull out a North Star game when I have a certain crowd come over.
Right.
When I have my normal board game crowd come over, they want Euros and all those kinds of things.
Right.
They don't want Happy Birthday,
Right.
They don't want Wits and Wagers. They don't want those things. So that was a definite switch. What made you guys decide to go strategy?
Well, there's two factors. One of which, the founder of the company, Dominic Crapuchettes, is a strategy gamer. His co-president, Satish Pilamari, likes strategy games as well, maybe not on the as heavy side. He likes lighter stuff. I'm a strategy gamer. We brought added some people in the company who also really like strategy games. So it's something Dominic has always wanted to do, but he raised capital from investors, from friends and family to start Northstar Games. He wants to give a return on investment to them. So that's why he went into the party game market initially with Wits and Wagers and Say Anything and the offshoots of those games. Those games are en masse, right? So we had a solid core support there, but mass is getting harder and harder to keep games in. They're shrinking their board game space. They're getting a lot of pressure from Amazon. So it takes a lot more resources to keep those games on the shelf. And, so we're looking around. I'm like, we might lose some of our accounts in mass. They might drop a title here and there. So we need to expand our base. And Wits and Wagers have been a big hit in the gaming community because it's a good combination, both like strategy game and party game. It's that real sweet spot. So we wanted to sort of do the same thing, but a little more on the strategy side, and that's why we ended up picking up Evolution. It just makes sense. Hobby is growing. Board game stores are growing. They're growing like 15-20% a year over the last 3 years. The tabletop video series has helped a lot. And video game reviewers and websites like yours are just like they're proliferating, they're growing. The BoardGameGeek is just expanding. It's an expanding market, and so we felt like it was the right time with mass kind of getting tighter, not seeing anything in the future for us to be able to get more into mass. Like, how can we grow the company? We can't grow it in mass. But we looked at the hobby and was like, yeah, hobby is really growing. That's where we need to expand because that's where it's happening. So we thought it was the right time.
Well, it's definitely a forward-thinking movement. Your Kickstarter came out, I don't know, what, a week ago now?
About a week and a half, yeah.
And it funded, the goal really, really quickly. You're at 5 times the goal now, and you still have 32 days to go. So what are you hoping happens with the rest of this?
Well, our the last stretch goal we have is 115,000. We just hit our 3rd stretch goal today, so we're about 56,000 right now. So obviously we want to hit that last stretch goal. But beyond that, we want to just build the buzz that the company that is created party games that people love is now getting a strategy, and we're going to take that same Northstar Games reputation for quality and great gameplay with simple rules, and we're going to apply it to the strategy market. So we're really hoping that people take a look at the Kickstarter and kind of just the more people we have backing us, the more we're going to be able to launch strongly into this, get more expansions out sooner, and just build buzz around the game.
There was a ton of buzz about it on Twitter, and obviously you're doing really well on the Geek. So how does that make you guys feel as a company to see that much support from the game community?
Well, it's pretty exciting because we haven't even really reached out to some of our a lot of our fans, and our fan email list are party gamers, right? They're not even like strategy gamers. So a lot of this has just come from people we didn't even don't even know. Like we emailed, we've obviously emailed some of our more kind of gamer fans, but
right.
Yeah, this is a bunch of new people, really, to a large degree. So we're really expanding our audience. So we're pretty excited about that. And that's always good to expand your market base, right? So,
absolutely.
Yeah. So we're very excited about it. And this is our first Kickstarter. We've learned a lot already. We've been paying a lot of attention to the comments and what people are saying, and we've improved the stretch goals, and we're going to come out with some new, lower, cheaper shipping fees for international shipping in particular. So that's going to help, our international fans. So yeah, anything you do is obviously you want to learn from it, and so we're paying a lot of attention to what people are saying, and we're hoping we're going to put out a product that people love.
Well, just speaking from what I've seen so far, I am digging it. It's a lot of fun. I can't wait to get a full table around it and really see the interaction and what happens, especially when you got somebody kind of attacking somebody else. One of the neat mechanics I liked was the fact that the carnivore could actually attack themselves. They can attack your own species.
Yeah, and sometimes you're forced to. Yeah, so that creates a crazy dynamic too. Because you can have multiple species, and sometimes because of the defenses on the other creatures, you can't attack anyone else, but you haven't been defending your own creatures from yourself because you've been attacking other people, and all of a sudden you're forced to attack your own.
Right.
So yeah, it creates there's a whole lot of the cards combined in really interesting ways, and you can take your herbivore and convert them into a carnivore later in the game. Once you've built up a big body size or something like that, there's just a lot of interesting things. Or sometimes you can see the writing on the wall. I'm like, wow, my carnivore is not going to be able to attack anybody because I didn't draw the right cards. You can evolve away from being a carnivore, So there's just a lot of different cool things that happen in the game, and we just played another game in the office just yesterday, and three of us tried different strategies we never tried before, and this was like a completely different sort of game. So there's just
a ton of replayability.
There's a ton of replayability in this game, and you think you've seen everything, and then you haven't. So.
Right, absolutely. Now, this, like I said, this is a stretch for you guys. How often, or is there any game plan from Northstar Games to put out a certain amount of strategy games per year now, or is this like we're testing the waters?
Our normal course of our policy generally on games is to be able to market a game properly and to put the amount of work into it that you need it to make it really good. Takes a long time. And, we're a relatively small outfit. We don't really... Some game companies put out 20 games a year, and they just throw a bunch of stuff on the wall, and they see what sticks.
Right.
We don't do that. We're much more the Days of Wonder sort of model, where we put out one game a year, maybe two. So what we're really looking at is maybe putting out a party family game a year, and then putting out a strategy game one a year. If Evolution does really well, which right now it looks like it's going to be pretty successful, we'll probably stick with that core title and just put out expansions. And kind of build the base on Evolution, and those new expansions will probably make it a little more complicated, but once everyone sort of get into the game, then they can take on new complications. But there's a whole lot of stuff you can do with this game with expansions, so we're pretty excited about the future of Evolution down the line. And then, if a new game design falls in our lap, yeah, we'll definitely take a serious look at that.
Now,
probably about a game a year.
What do you attribute the success or the hotness to the game to, since it's such a stretch for Northstar Games? I know it helps to have Ryan out there pushing it with his audience.
Right.
I mean, that it is such a different type of game, and it just exploded on the social media. So what do you attribute that to?
Well, I don't want to discount Ryan's efforts. He's been huge. And he's been getting people to demo the game at conventions, and we've been getting emails from them, from people wanting to get involved on the Kickstarter. Ryan and I went to PAX East, and we got over 100 emails just demoing the game 12 hours a day. He just brings a lot of energy to the project. He's active on the Geek. He's been obviously active on Twitter, and he did the how to play video for us on the Kickstarter page.
Right. Which was very good, by the way.
Yeah, he does a great job. He's enthusiastic about the product. And then, we put somebody full-time onto launching the Kickstarter. We talked to a lot of people who've run successful Kickstarters. We really wanted to do it right the first time out. And, so we've I've been active on Twitter, and I've been, demoing the game a lot at the gathering of friends, my local game stores. We're going around to local game stores around here. I went to PAX with Ryan. He's going to be at Origins demoing the game for us. If you're going to Origins, you want to see what the game is. The Kickstarter ends the day after Origins ends, so go to Origins and find Ryan and play the game and check it out for sure. We just and we've done a lot on the Geek, kind of building interest around the game, putting up updates all the time, and just trying to get people excited about it in which any way we can.
Now, one of the things I like to do is, because today there's more designers and wannabe publishers than ever before, and because of Kickstarter, everybody's coming out of the woodwork. I'm a designer, or, we want to get this launched. Can you give some of the viewers who might be seeing this an idea of what it takes to launch a game, from concept to sending it out to the people?
The main thing is, you've designed a game, you think it's cool. You play with your friends, right?
Right.
They're your friends. They're kind of going to think it's cool, right? But you're also there teaching it to them. So a lot of the vagaries of the game you can kind of explain away, but you don't come in a box. So if you send that game out to somebody else and they don't know anything about it and they just open it and try to teach it and play it, you're going to get a lot different response. And so play test the heck out of your game. Have people blind play test it. And you're going to learn a lot about what people like and what they don't like. And you'd be surprised. Like, it's easy because you're enthusiastic about something to get all your friends around and get them enthusiastic because you're enthusiastic.
Right.
Somebody who doesn't, like, you're not at the table and some random person is testing this thing out for you, they're not going to have that same level of enthusiasm, so they're going to look at the game a little more objectively. And I think that's really key. Just spend a lot of time developing a game, just to make sure it's really tight. As far as the Kickstarter stuff, assuming you're not getting a publisher to publish it, Kickstarter also takes a lot of work, getting the right stretch goals and figuring out what your funding level should be, and making sure you have good quality prototypes to send out to reviewers. I mean, you looked at a prototype, like you don't even have the final version,
right.
But you liked it, right?
Right.
And granted, the components aren't everything that's going to, going to be higher quality in the game, but you still, there's a lot of work involved in creating a good prototype and getting people to play it. And,
Well, I got to tell you, I was impressed because you guys sent it to me sleeved, and nobody else has ever done that. I always have to, I've always got to spend 3 or 4 hours cutting paper. So
right, exactly.
So that was a nice. I opened the box and I'm like, oh wow, this will be easy.
Yeah.
What about? Here's the other thing that the other day I put out a blog about ignoring your audience. How a lot of publishers ignore their audience, or they ignore people that try to connect with them and say, hey, we love your game, or blah blah blah. You guys have never been. I've never seen you being like that. I've never had that experience with you. How important is it to be established with your core group of gamers out there who are trying to connect with you?
Well, one of the things that is of very primary importance for us is customer service. Like, people email us, there's always mistakes happen on the manufacturing end. We're like, oh, you need what? Okay, boom, we just send it to them.
Right.
Oh, here's some promo packs, for Wits and Wagers, right? Like, we just do a lot on the customer service end. We're very responsive to people on the BoardGameGeek. People ask us all the time, hey, I want to run a Wits and Wagers game show. Like, how do I do that? Boom, we'll be on there. We'll tell you how to do it. We'll send you materials, like that you can download and create a good event. We're just very, we need our customers to buy our games. Like, when you buy any product, you want to know you're going to get support for that product, and
right.
That's what we try to do. And we listen to feedback, and we play with a lot of different people. We always ask our retailers, what kind of response are you getting on this? What are people saying? What do people want to see? So you just have to be willing to sort of, you may have preconceptions about stuff, but you never know what things are really like in the real world until you put it out there and you start getting feedback. So we just listen to people.
Well, I think it's pretty wise, and it certainly makes our jobs as reviewers easier when the company's responsive and says, hey, you need images? Sure, here you go, or whatever the case is going to be, because we want to put our best foot forward, so you can put your best foot forward.
Right.
Sometimes it just seems like people can't be bothered, or they're not interested in doing whatever, and we know everybody's got their favorite people. That's fine and dandy. At least acknowledge them. Otherwise, you might have just lost a customer.
Right. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about. You got 32 days to go on this Kickstarter campaign. You've just said, I think you said the third stretch goal, correct?
Yeah.
So where are we looking at the rest of this? What's coming up after this? The next stretch goal.
We get a bonus trait card. I think is the next one. And then we're looking at improved starter species boards. I think that's the last one. Oh, and the start player token, right? It's going to be. I think this is not set in stone, but I think we have a good lead on it. It's really big, almost like brontosaurus looking thing. It's like 6 inches long, 4 inches high. It's going to be this huge thing. It's going to take up like half the box. That's going to be the start player token. So that's our, I think that's our stretch goal, like 100,000. Yeah, so some cool stuff coming up that's going to make the game just really neat. So We try to keep all the stuff such that we're not going to have to add some new whole manufacturing element to it at the last minute, which is going to delay the product, right? We want stuff that we can source very easily, and so it's not going to delay anything. So we've got it all kind of like, hey, we can do that. We know we can do that. As soon as we hit that stretch goal, we're good to go. And, you know, so we're going to be on time with this product. It's going to come out early October, so before Essen. We're going to have it at Essen, so anybody in Germany who's going to be at Essen can order it, and they don't even have to pay for shipping. We're going to bring it over with us. You know, so yeah, you know, we know that's really important, is to get stuff out on time. So
the artwork is amazing.
Yeah, we hired a world-renowned nature artist, Catherine Hamilton, to do the artwork for it. And you haven't even seen all of it yet. Like some of the cards haven't even been done yet, so you haven't seen that. And she's tweaking some of the stuff that's already out there. It's going to be awesome. And one of the, I think we're going to add it not as I think it was technically initially a stretch goal, but we might change it and make it a buy-in level where you get like a hardbound art book with not only the final drawings, but also like the preliminary drawings and some other stuff that Kathy has done. So you're going to get this cool kind of coffee table art book. It's a higher entry level, but you know, if you're really into that kind of thing.
And that's the $85,000 goal.
Right. Well, we might change that. That one we might keep just as like a catalog, but we're actually going to have a pledge level, which is actual hardbound art book. Yeah.
I see. Okay. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, off the subject of the game. What do you guys look for in a good game? I mean, somebody's come to you guys, say you're at Gen Con or whatever, and somebody wants to pitch a game to you guys. What are you guys looking for in a game? I mean, do you want something that's pretty much done? Do you want just the idea? Is there a certain balance that you're looking for?
There's a lot of thing with it depends. If we're looking for party games or family games, they got to be crazy simple. All right, and it has to focus more on social interaction than mechanics. The mechanics need to almost like dissolve when you play the game. It just has to be something where you're having a good time. Like on Say Anything, once you play the game once, you don't even care about the mechanics. Because there are no mechanics, really. Right? The scoring becomes irrelevant. It's all about people coming up with funny answers, right?
Right.
And that's what's really important. And so on our family games, you know, we're looking for stuff like that where it's like so simple that you're not even thinking about rules. Nobody wants to stop a game and go consult a rule book, particularly for kids and families. So kids have short attention spans, so it's got to be something that's very immediate. For the strategy games, again, Evolution is our first one. What drew us to it was how the theme was implicit in the strategy of the game. So the way the game plays, it fits with the concept of evolution and species evolving, and you know, there's a lot of food. All of a sudden, all these plant eaters show up, and they increase their population. Oh, well, guess what? Now all the food's gone, right? So now the carnivores show up because there's no plants to eat, so you got to get your food somewhere else, right? So it really makes a lot of sense, and that's really what we liked about the game, is we could create a relatively simple mechanical game that had a lot of different strategies as the game progresses. You really evolve your strategies as the game changes. So that's what we really liked about it. Because people could, there's more rules, obviously. It's a strategy game, but all the rules make sense.
Right.
And that's really a key for us.
It certainly is easy to understand. And the one thing I do love about it is the fact that your strategy is constantly evolving throughout the game.
Yeah. That's what keeps the game really interesting.
Absolutely. All right, so now anybody who's interested in this, you can go to Kickstarter, obviously, and just look up Evolution, and you will see everything there. There's 32 days left to go on it. If you want to find out anything more about any of the games that we've talked about, you can just go to northstargames.com, and they have some fabulous party games. You sent us Clubs, and you sent us Happy Birthday, both of which Clubs was nominated for the finals of traditional card game.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, we were very excited about that.
So,
first kind of big nod that it got. So Yeah, we love clubs. We think it's
I'm
a
going to
great.
refine that category a little more. I think we'll have to come up with something maybe a little more deck buildy and then something a little more traditional because it's not quite fair to everybody involved in there. Um,
Right. Yeah.
and I think part of the problem is that there aren't as many traditional type card games that come out now as there are as deck builders.
Right.
So yeah, we're working on that, but we definitely recognize what a great game it was for sure.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Appreciate that. No, that was cool that you guys gave it a nod. And it's nominated for an Origins Award this year.
right,
Yeah, for
right,
best card game.
right. So and in a way that was kind of exciting to me because you don't really think about card games anymore.
Yeah, particularly like your more traditional ones, right?
Right, right. So that was pretty cool. Uh, is there any other game that you want to plug while we're talking? Is there something new that's come out or something recent that's come out you want to plug?
No, I mean Happy Birthday, which you've already shown. If people are familiar with our game, Crappy Birthday. Happy Birthday is a younger version of it, less text, more picture, stuff really aimed for kids.
Right.
Because what we found was the sweet spot for Crappy Birthday was sort of that 8 to 12-year-old range. Like, particularly boys love the idea of pranking friends with bad gifts. But a lot of moms don't want to go buy a game called Crappy Birthday, right? So, so we simplified the text on the cards. We made the pictures and gifts something that were more intuitive for kids, and we reduced the price point, the size of the game. But it's the same game. It's great if you need a gift to take to a kid's birthday party. It's ideal. So that's really how we made it. It's definitely more of a kid's game. It's not like an adult party game. For that, I would say definitely go for Crappy Birthday if you're gonna go for something that's that apples to apples sort of mechanic. So that's the new one. In terms of strategy games, I think obviously we've mentioned Wits and Wagers here. That's obviously still our number one breadwinner.
It does. That's a fabulous game, and I have 3 copies of it, and I keep wanting it at our we have the Tennessee Game Days, our board game convention here in Nashville,
Right.
and we always have a big Wits and Wagers tournament there, and I've won it 3 years in a row with
Wow.
so but everybody signs up for that. It's a blast. We have a blast with that tournament. So yeah, it's a great game.
Great with a lot of people.
Yeah.
You get a family reunion going together, or Thanksgiving, you get a bunch of people, you bust out some Wits and Wagers, and it's a riot.
Absolutely. All right, so we're looking at Kickstarter, Evolution, 32 days to go. There's plenty of room to go on this thing, so definitely people, you need to check it out and back it if you're interested. I can tell you from what I've seen so far, it's a fabulous game. NorthstarGames.com, Twitter at Northstar Games, Facebook, I think it's just Northstar Games.
Northstar Games.
And do you guys have a presence on Google Plus?
No, we don't have a presence on Google Plus. We do a lot on the BoardGameGeek.
Okay.
Dominic runs a blog following the Northstar, I think it's called. He posts a bunch of stuff on there. We're running a contest right now on Evolution on the BoardGameGeek. So definitely go check that out.
Right.
Yeah, you've covered it.
Right. Oh yeah, definitely get involved in the contest for sure. All right. Well, Luke, I appreciate your time, man. I know it's late, and you gave us 30 minutes of your evening here, so we appreciate it. And best of luck with the Kickstarter.
No, thank you, man. Thank you for having me on. And giving club some love. That's always great. Yeah, appreciate it. Definitely happy to help you out anytime, any way I can.
All right, folks. Luke Warren with Northstar Games talking about Evolution on Kickstarter, NorthstarGames.com. I'm David Lowry with Club Fantasci. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time.